Hi everyone, welcome to WW Designs. My name is Nikki and today we are going to talk about all things Junk Journal July. In front of you is two journals that I have made thanks to a fabulous creative. Her name is Meg Journals and for many years has run this thing called Junk Journal July, and she also did Junk Journal January. She gave you prompts for every day of the week and you created whatever you wanted to create. Whether you are more modern style, vintage, it doesn't matter. It was completely up to you. You just took the prompt and did something with it. Now, earlier this year, Meg announced that she was no longer going to be running Junk Journal July. She's done it for years and obviously she's just had enough and it's time for her to move on. So I was very sad when I heard this because it's challenges like this, like if you've just watched my 100-day project video flip through, when you give me something to do and it's specific, like you give me prompts or whatever, I actually do things. When I just sit at my desk and unless I'm creating something like for a YouTube video, I tend to just shake my head. I look around at all the things I've got and I never know where to start. So it's when somebody pulls together something for me and gives me direction, even if it's very general direction, that's when I actually make the time to create something like this. So I was sad when I found out that Junk Journal July was not going to be on anymore because I thought, I'll never do it myself. It won't happen. And I just went, oh, well, I hope someone else decides to jump on this bandwagon and do it for me. And that is exactly what has happened. Now, Junk Journal July is no more, but we now have a new challenge. And this has been put together by Leigh from Leigh's Art and Junk Journaling. I will put all her details down in the description box. I have met Leigh. Leigh is a delightful lady. She also happens to live on the Sunshine Coast. But this is a slightly simplified version, but Leigh is fabulous. She is delightful and very creative, especially if grunge is your look. She's the one for you. Has put together a challenge for us. So it's going to be called the July Junk Journal Challenge for 2025. We have our list of prompts already. The other thing I really like, it's for weekdays only. So that means you don't have to do 31 prompts. You've only got 23. And then you don't have any fresh ones for the weekend, which means you've got a little bit of breathing space if you get behind and life gets busy. And I know that certainly happens to me because I work still. And getting 31 days done in a row can be very difficult. So this gives you a little bit of breathing space. So if you have never made a junk journal in your life before, if you have never junk journaled before, but you'd really like to give it a try, then this could be a great place to start because, as I said, there's no rules. You just have a prompt. You can interpret it however you like. If you don't want to make a junk journal, just do it in a notebook or an exercise book. It's completely up to you. But have a go and you might find you just love doing things like this. So I have already done a bit of prep and I am going to make my journal. I already have a tub. Oh, what's this has come along for the ride? You get back over there. I've already got a little tub going and we're going to make a journal, a very simple one, so that we will be ready for the 1st of July. And I'm going to start really simply. We need a cover. If you're going to make a journal, you need some sort of cover. And in true junk journal style, I'm going to try and use as much junk as possible. So nothing beats a good old piece of cardboard as a cover. And the funny thing is, I had already done this prep and then I dug out my two previous journals that I have with me. My other ones are in storage. And I giggled because guess what? I've got a square yet again. And that was not intentional. I had this scrap of cardboard. It was a long strip. So I cut it into 2 pieces, and lo and behold, look at this. And my last 2 were squares. So obviously square is my jam for this thing. So we're starting with 2 pieces of cardboard for our cover. Very, very simple. Anybody can manage that. Then the next thing I've done, if you have followed my channel for any length of time, you will know that I love recycling grocery bags and putting them on the back of tags or journal cards so that you have writing space. And especially when I'm doing vintagey stuff, this is such a great colour, so it works really well. Now, keeping in mind with my junk journal July, it will certainly not be all vintage. Some people, because it's a junk journal challenge, a lot of people are full on vintage. Good luck to them. I'm way more eclectic. Some of my pages will be bright. Some of them will be very vintage. I don't care. I just look at the prompt, come up with an idea, and off we go. So, of course, because I'm always cutting up grocery bags to put on the back of tags and things, I end up with all these bits and pieces. So what I did, I grabbed a heap of them, and I have cut a heap of squares. Now, of course, there is branding on the back of some of these. That doesn't matter. What I'm doing here is creating a base for which I can glue papers on. I can add gesso if I want to just use this. I can stick down watercolour paper. I can do whatever I like. All I want to do is make a base. And most grocery bags are quite decent sort of paper. Like, they're not too flimsy because they're not supposed to break when you're trying to cart your groceries home. So to me, this is a very good base. Of course, all of mine did not end up the same size. They're all different, but they're square. And I don't care because I'm going to stick and glue and paint and all that sort of stuff. So the next thing I did, because these pieces are all individual, I will count this as a page. And of course I need 23 pages, plus I need a page at each end to glue onto my cover. So of course I have made enough pages for that. And the next thing I did, I had some more packaging. This was brown paper that came in wrapped around a delivery. And what I did, I just cut a heap of strips. And what I'm going to do is glue, just so you can actually see what I'm going to do. I've got 2 pages here like this. I'm going to separate them slightly, and then I'm going to join them together with this paper. I'm going to glue one of these on both sides, and that way it will make the joins quite strong. And we're going to make an accordion style journal. So I'm going to go off and do all my gluing, and then I will come back and we will continue on. Now, I have done all my gluing, and I'll just explain to you where I'm at now. I have 13 of these pages, which I have glued together with the strips as I showed you. And when I glued them, I left a bit of space, just so that when things fold over, these don't end up, you know, maybe getting caught up if my angle isn't quite straight. I'm just giving myself some grace room there. Now, the reason why I have 13 pages is because each of these pages will become 2. So I will work on the front the whole way through first, then I will work on the back part because we're making a bit of a concertina arrangement here. And I technically then have 26 pages because 13 times 2 is 26, but I automatically lose the first of one side and the first of the other side because this is where I glue it to the cover. So this is a fun way to make a journal without any sewing. All you have to do is wield a glue stick and you can make yourself a fun journal. And as I said, use any papers you like. You will notice these, I haven't glued them all with this stuff the right way up or the wrong way up. It's all going to get covered anyway, so it doesn't matter. But if you're using maybe scrapbook paper, old ones that you don't like. Be conscious when you're gluing this together to make sure if it has a certain pattern, and you may want to show some of that pattern on the page that you create, that it's all the right way up. But if you're doing something like this, I literally just stuck, glued, done. So the first thing we have to do is we have to attach this to our cover. So I need to shovel this out of the way without having everything fall off my desk, and I need it to be this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab my little gluey magazine-y arrangement here. So we have our cover, we have our first page, and we need to attach this down. So all I'm going to do, okay, so I grabbed a new glue stick. I realized the one I was about to use was at the end of its valuable life, and I've just done all this with glue stick. I'm not worried about using fancy glues or anything with glue stick anyway. Oh, except we don't want that globular bit. We don't need that. And then we take our cover. Does it matter? I've got a rougher side and a smoother side. Oh, it doesn't really matter which one I use. And then we just shimmy this out of the way. And I want to look at it like this, because my aim is to get this just inside the cover, okay? So as long as it doesn't stick out on each side, that is roughly where I want it. Now, let me just see, how are we going for straightness here? And then I'm going to grab an old card and just glue this down. Okay, there we go. So that's how we start. We now have attached my snake to the first cover. And then all we have to do, I'm going to use a ruler to make this a little bit easier. And I'm going to line this up sort of roughly in the center of where I've left that little bit of space. And I'm just going to push this up against the ruler. This is the easiest way to get a nice straight fold. And then we just flip this over. This probably looks very strange on camera, but I promise you it's not that hard. And then we just press that down, and then we do the same thing until we've done all our pages. So I don't know, I hope this is not too hard for you to see so that you understand what I'm doing. I'll try turning this around and doing the same thing again in the middle of our little gap that I have left. We just lift this up, fold it in, and there's another one done. And then what I will do is I will grab my bone folder and just press each one down nice and firmly. And then you just flip your little snake over to the other side, get it out of your way, and then you can do exactly the same thing until you have them all done. So I will go ahead and finish this, and then we'll come back. So our snake is all contained, hiding behind our cover. So there we go. Now all we have to do is attach the back. So we're doing exactly the same thing again. Grabbing my mag here and applying glue. Thing being perfectly aligned and all that sort of thing. That's what makes junk journaling fun. You can be a bit off and still end up with something that looks fabulous. Just don't get paranoid about everything aligning perfectly. So I'm starting with this here. Then let's get this down a little bit further down, over to the edge, grab our and voila, we now have ourselves a journal. And what I would do is I'm going to stick this under a book for a couple of days and just get it all nice and solid. But that we will get to. Now I really want to add something fun to the cover. So just got to work out where my front flap is. That's the most important thing. And I've got a little bit of a lift there in the paper, so fold that down. Now, I ummed and ahed about what I wanted to add to my cover. Let's just move this out of the way for one moment. And I couldn't decide. But then I found this thing. Now, this is an experiment that has gone wrong. I was watching Tamara Laporte's mixed media thing she did a few weeks ago. And I had a go doing one of the projects, and it did not turn out the way it was meant to. This was supposed to end up as a very translucent sort of paint paper arrangement. Mine has ended up quite thick and quite gluggy, but I was almost going to throw it in the bin, and I just couldn't do it. And then when I saw this, I went, you know what? This could be a fun thing to use for my cover, because why not? I might as well use it. Otherwise, it's only going in the bin, even though it is far from perfect. So what I need is about a 17 centimetre square. So I think the easiest way to tackle this for starters is, let's clean up one of the edges and then we'll work our way around it. I'm just going to do this with my craft knife, and then we'll see how we can make all this fit. And this is so much better than putting this in the bin. Right, there we go. So now I need about 17 centimetres to, let's see, we've got a torn bit here, which I don't like. We've got another bit there. So I think we might work our 17 roughly. We're going to have a bit of a torn bit no matter what I do. I can't completely avoid that, but that's okay. We can still work with what we've got. Let's say we go up to here. I'll make a little mark there and there. There we go. Final cut. Nope. You got to apply pressure down in towards the ruler. That's why I always use a metal ruler for this. And I took it away a little bit too early. Okay, never mind. That's what this is all about. Now, let's see. Seeing we've got these letters facing this way, I might... Hang on, wait a minute. Let's just trim. I can trim this bit off. There we go. That will do. So I think we might use it this way. So all I'm going to do is grab my big... I grab the big glue because we want a fair bit on here. Except this one's almost empty and it's cold here today. Very rare for us in southeast Queensland, but we're actually having some winter at the moment. I think it went down to like 9.7 degrees Celsius, which I know for some people is nothing, but we're a bit sooky here in southeast Queensland. When it gets that cold, it's like, oh gosh, disaster zone stuff. Just get rid of that glue off my finger. And then we are going to place this on here. Let me just try. How are we going here? I think that will do perfectly. So now my beautiful mistake is getting put to good use, and I think that looks absolutely fabulous. But, of course, we've got to add a few other little bits. I always like to have a title/datey arrangement on mine. So we're going to add that. But firstly, I've made a few little fun bits here. I had a scrap of photo paper. I had printed out a photo, so I had this bit left. And so I got some stamps out and I created some little arty related stamps. And I thought on top of this very loud thing, if I put some of these black and white things on, that could look rather cool. But I think I need to put this one down. Yeah, that one down first because of the length. The rest of them are all much smaller, so I can add them later. But let's put this one down first. And I tell you what, one thing I did notice, I have never bothered to stamp onto photo paper before, not for any particular reason, obviously just have not needed to do so. I'm impressed at how crisp all my stamping came out. So if you ever want to do some stamping and you want a really nice crisp result, do it onto photo paper. It looks fabulous. They've just come out so clear. So the rest are smaller, so we'll add those later. I might put this down now, and we'll put this down in the corner. Now, this is just a piece of book page with some leftover black paint on it. I didn't even use cardstock. It's just a little bit of leftover black paint in my little Use It Up paint book, because this is all about junk journaling and using up things. So I think we'll put that about there. I'll tell you what, one thing I did notice, how few J's I had in my stash. I went through my I've got a whole pouch full of letters and numbers, and you don't get many J's on most pages. So I ended up having to use 3 different ones because I didn't have 3 that were all the same, but that's okay. So this, of course, is for July Junk Journal Challenge, and this year is 25, so we're putting that on a card. And that way I'm doing the same as I've done with my other journals. I've sort of put a title on them, which I love. And this is just another piece of scrap, of which I might just trim this down because it's a tiny bit too big. I don't want it covering that. Okay, so we have a date on there. Now let's add all these other cute little bits. We might sort of go, let's see, we might sort of do like a bit of a sort of a starburst shape, I think. So we'll sort of pick, no, we might put this one up here. That's a little paint swatchy arrangement, little paint tin. I've got a few brushes. I just went and got crafty things because that's what I like to do with Junk Journal July. I like to mix media it and all sorts of fun things like that. So painting will happen, no doubt. Then I have another cute little paintbrush here. Of course, you definitely do not have to do this. You can pick whatever you want. That's the whole idea of this challenge, is to use things that you have in your stash. Like if you don't have brown paper shopping bags, you want to maybe use magazine pages. The only thing I wouldn't use is pages that are very thin. I would just be worried that they won't survive all the gluing and things that I'm going to stick on them. I'd be very concerned about that. So maybe something with a little bit of tooth. You might have some, actually, there's a lot of nice gift wrap made these days, on recycled paper. So it's much thicker than normal gift wrap used to be. That would certainly be worth considering. And now I've got a little ink bottle because I might just use some inks. I have no idea yet. Now, let's have a look. What else have I got? A little paint tube with some paint sticking out of it. Then I also did these other things, but I don't know if I want them on there. I might put this July down here that I printed out, only because we have, as a rule, in the past done Junk Journal July and Junk Journal January. I didn't do January this year because I spent most of January overseas, so there was no way I was lugging all my mixed media stuff on that trip. So I did not partake in Junk Journal January, but we're going to do July. Now, oh, actually, you know what? I have got room for these. I'm going to put them on each side. So we'll put colour down here and then this tiny little word art in here. Okay, oh, look at that. Perfect fit. And I think I will pass on this thing. It doesn't go with the theme. I don't really know why I stamped that out. So that is my cover done. Now, I don't know if I'm going to put anything on the back cover yet. I will think about that. But my journal is ready. My cover is done. Now, the one thing I want to add to this is I want to put the prompts on the inside. So I'm very simply going to do this. I'm just going to tear this up and then we're going to glue it down on the inside of my cover. That's why I don't need to worry about decoration or anything like that, because I need my prompts handy so I know what I'm doing. Voila. So pop that aside, and then we just have to flip this open and glue this down. And I'm going to put it down in the corner here, just in case I do decide I want to add something, pardon me, to the background. I probably won't, but you never know. Knowing me, I may very well do that. And now my journal is actually ready to go. I haven't bought anything. I've only used things that are in my stash. And this, of course, will be page one. And as I mentioned, I will be gluing, painting, all that sort of thing. So it doesn't matter that there is this stuff printed here. Some of these pages I might, you know, because they're plain, I might work in a smaller area and have a bit of a frame. I have not decided yet, but there we go. All different size journal pages, journal cover ready to go. And that's that. So now I'll show you what other prep I have done. As we already have our prompts and we've still got a little bit of time, like we're not even halfway through June yet, I've already been through my stash thinking about some of these prompts, thinking about some of the prompts and some of the things I might be able to use. So I grabbed a basket, and then over the next couple of weeks, as I'm creating or cleaning or tidying or whatever, I'm going to add things to the basket. When it's time to actually do the pages, if you have a little stash of things ready to go, it can help make it easier. Instead of having to go on a hunt for every day, that's a really good way to lose interest in a project like this. So one of them, I have an idea. So I specifically went on a hunt for grungy pieces of paper that all have a certain colour tone. That's what they're for. I won't tell you which page yet. I will be needing some leaves for one of my pages, so I found this, popped it in there. This, of course, doesn't mean I'm going to use all of this. It's just they're handy here, all in one space. Some more leaves. very pretty card with a bird on it. Whether I'll be using this or not, I don't know yet, because I've actually got 2 plans for that. Some more grungy bits. I found this little sheet of tags. Little, labels. I thought, oh, look, I'll throw that in there. Some of those could be handy. A partially made postcard. I've got some book page. I've got a ledger card. I've got a couple of doilies that I dyed. A little something that I made. I was hunting for something else and I went, oh, I might be able to use that. Coffee dyed dictionary. I've got some scraps of black and white papers. I've got a piece of pizza box, which would be great for making tags or maybe a belly band or something like that. Piece of deli paper that's already printed on. Part of a gift bag that I got. I grabbed a piece of sewing pattern. A cute piece of tissue paper. I had a few sheets of this leftover packing paper that was in a pile that got attacked with coffee. I went, but I like this. I might be able to use that. I found a couple of little bits and pieces. This is a leftover piece, a printable of a map, one of our prompts. A coffee-dyed piece of magazine, a sheet of music paper. All of these sort of things will make great backgrounds to start a page. So that's why I've collected a few of these things. A few more book pages, piece of cardboard that has been split. That might come in handy. A sheet of botanical. I've got some magazine pages. I've got more of this shopping bag in case I need it. Even a shopping bag handle. And a few magazine images. A printout of some vintage clocks. I have an idea maybe for those. Oh, and now this one is just a tiny bit too big. There we go. I've found a few more leftovers from printable kits. Beautiful background. Something Christmassy. I won't tell you what I'm planning on using that for, but, Christmas in July sort of thing. Few little cutouts from magazines. A bit more map. A globe. Some chocolate. Flowers, you never know. Just a few other little magazine and leftover pages. I've even got this fabulous... I just bought myself a bottle of... I needed a new bottle of Elizabeth Arden Mediterranean. Had this fabulous silver metallic on the box, so I cut that off. And so forth. So think about some of the prompts. Maybe start going through your stash slowly. I'm going to put these pieces in here too. Because, again, this could make a great belly band, and it's left over. And it's definitely not something new. So there you go. So a little bit of prep now over the next couple of weeks when you've got a few minutes here and there. Have a look in a certain part of your stash. Grab a few bits. It honestly makes this project so much easier to complete when you don't have to run around every 5 minutes looking for something. So there you go. I hope you are going to join us in this challenge. Leigh and I would love it. I know there's quite a few others that have already said yes. If you're going to, please let me know down in the comments. I'd also like to know if you've ever done Junk Journal July before and whether you are going to participate because it's something that you love to do. Please let me know. And of course, if you could give this video a thumbs up, I would greatly appreciate it. I don't know how many videos I will do of the pages. I'll just see how I go, depending on how time allows me to during the month. But I will definitely do some of them. And so that's it. This is the next step in Junk Journal July. We now have the July Junk Journal Challenge. And I hope you will either use this to have a go at something like this for the first time, or if you're a seasoned Junk Journal Julier, you will join in too. So until next time, stay safe and stay healthy. And thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.